Good evening, everyone. I work as a professional in official forensic and legal medicine institutions, and I want to preserve my job, so I don't disclose my name. However, there's a macabre story that haunts me, and I'd like you to hear it. Often in my line of work, they say we become gradually insensitive. The truth is, I believe we come this way from the factory, and the things we do force us to maintain a certain degree of impassivity in the face of death, which may seem aberrant to others. I often hear comments from people saying it seems like nothing affects me, but believe me, it does. I just don't show it like others. I currently don't have a partner, and the relationships I've had didn't last long. People usually get upset because my clothes always smell of formaldehyde, cigarettes, and death, a combination that, no matter how hard I try to remove, persists even with the most aggressive combinations of cleaning products. I mention this because I must say, my sense of smell has been atrophied for a long time. Unless the corpse really smells bad, I don't notice, which makes people recoil when they see me, thinking they still smell the scent of death on my skin. I'm not the only person on shifts with this aura that repels people. Frankly, we all carry it to a greater or lesser extent. Every time colleagues go out to eat, they prefer to order food and bring it to the workstations, where they can eat quietly without feeling like people see them as anomalies. I remember one particularly late occasion after we worked overtime due to a highly publicized shootout, where the victims' families demanded an immediate resolution. Of course, we were overwhelmed. It was around 3 in the morning when we finally caught a breath. Since we had to clean everything quickly, I went out to smoke a cigarette while the intern fetched various fast food orders and placed them on the work tables. Supposedly, he was supposed to put them in a place away from the bodies we were working on for measurements and identifications. Once the 2 supervisors finished smoking, we went back in to continue. I planned to eat quickly and finish dissecting the corpses, while the interns weighed the organs and made the necessary notes. Frankly, we were all half asleep, so when we started eating, we were swallowing the food without really paying attention. I noticed that during a bite, one of the girls turned as pale as death, screamed in horror, and dropped her food. I immediately stood up to reprimand her, as I never had a good relationship with the young ones. Especially on that night, with just 2 grams of patience, I demanded an explanation while she pointed at the plate, crying inconsolably, and then rushed to vomit in a trash can. At that moment, we all turned to look at the plates, and on one of them was half a piece of human skin. We knew it was human because it had a well-marked tattoo. I immediately demanded to know what was going on, recognizing that mark as one belonging to the body we were examining. No one knew what to say, so we checked the cameras, and horror overcame any explanation. While we were out for a few moments to take a break, a person we'd never seen before but who had a cleaning uniform entered the room, cut a piece from one of the bodies, and distributed the pieces in the steaming food orders. Of course, in the parade of scents we had to endure, there was no way to notice what was happening until a piece of very tough meat touched our mouths. I saw when we returned to eat the food, and just my plate, which I almost finished without paying much attention to the taste, was one of those with the surprise. I covered my face, and a shiver ran down my spine. But I pushed back the disgust with a strong company coffee and told my colleague not to mention a word to the interns. We let the intern who vomited go home early. To the others, we said it was an unfortunate prank by the guy who brought the food, whom we would punish with a 2-day suspension, of course, without recording it in his records because he was not guilty of anything. We continued working, and since no one touched the food again, the interns decided to throw it away, and I didn't have the courage to stop them. At certain moments, I question whether this gradual insensitivity we develop at work is a blessing or a curse. On one hand, it allows us to face horrendous situations without succumbing to despair, fulfilling our responsibilities undisturbed. On the other hand, this apparent indifference can isolate us from the outside world, where people can feel the cruelty of death more acutely. The story of the contaminated food remains a scar on our team. We never discovered the identity of the person responsible, and the uncertainty about their intentions haunts our minds. Was it a disturbed person wanting to evoke horror, or someone with a dark revenge against the system? Still, we face our days continuing to perform autopsies, identifications, and other tasks linked to death. It's a job that demands more than technical skills. It requires an emotional resilience that few can comprehend. Even when the smell of death momentarily dissipates, I know that for us, it will never completely disappear. In the video description, there are links to horror and thriller books in case you want to buy. And if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe.